I sent you an email, but you didn't respond about the lip. Let's see. Oh, but I'm not seeing, wait a minute. That's not on. All right, that's not on. You'll get that, okay. You don't need to come up. What? It's on? Don't cough or sneeze. Whoop. Whoop. Oh, thank you. Good morning, everyone. That worked. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Naples. I'm Janet Hoffman, your worship associate for this morning. We welcome all of you, old friends and new friends. You are an important part of this service. If you are comfortable, those of you that are brand new or relatively new, if you'll raise your hand so we can see who you are, we'd love to, welcome. Glad to have you. Thank you. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday here, we are stronger because you are with us in places and many backgrounds. We are all growing and learning. We hope that you find comfort, connection, and love here. Many thanks it needs to be given to all those that help with this service. That includes the ushers and the greeters, the hospitality crew. Tyler is with technology, Sean, Abby, and our choir for providing the beautiful music. Today, I also want to give thanks to Andy Wells-Bean for being our lay leader for today's service. He is allowing our minister, Reverend Tony Fisher, to get a little rest, just a little. I will share some of his master's degree in public policy at the University of Michigan. He has worked in environmental nonprofit policy, advocacy, and organizational capacity building for over 20 years. Andy has built winning advocacy campaigns across the country with the Sierra Club, Public Interest Network, Citizens Campaign for the Environment, Organizing for America, Boston Climate Action Network, and the United Church of Christ Environmental Justice Ministries. Andy is also a longtime Unitarian Universalist, regularly attending General Assembly, and he served as membership directory to the historic Folan Unitarian Universalist Church in Lexington, Massachusetts, before moving to Naples. He now serves Audubon Western Everglades as its executive director. He and his wife, Reverend Angela Wells-Bean, live in North Naples with their two boys, Soren and Emerson, which you may see running around here at times. So now, let's relax and settle ourselves into this time of worship with the prelude.
So, I don't want you to relax too much, though, because I want you to actually participate in this one. So this is sort of a sort of ceremonial song that was written by an Ojibwe singing group in Ontario, and we want you to participate in the chorus every time. But basically, we're saying we have to humble ourselves before, and we start with the highest So, the chorus is, we can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. And that's what I want you to sing every time. So, you'll get it. We do it 7 times. You'll get it. All right, let's do this. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of our Creator. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of our Creator. We gotta know what she knows. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of our elders. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of our elders. We gotta know what they know. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of our children. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of our children. We gotta know what they know. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the winged. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the winged. We gotta know what they know. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the four-legged. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the four-legged. We gotta know what they know. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the swimmers. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the swimmers. We gotta know what they know. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the crawlers. We gotta bend down low. We gotta humble ourselves in the eyes of the crawlers. We gotta know what they know. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other up, higher and higher. We can raise each other
Thank you, choir. We gather together this morning tenderly, like drops of dew on a leaf of grass, hopefully like gathered raindrops in a cloud, gleefully like water rushing in a stream to the sea, deeply, like groundwater pulled from a well. We gather from every direction for another time of growth and depth, another time for companionship and hope, another time in learning to love this world. We gather like the water that joins us across all of creation, the water that connects us within and without, merging and flowing across the entire world. Okay, now join me as we read the chalice lighting response in your order of service and on the screen. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all creation. As we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. And thank you, Larry, for lighting our chalice this morning. Okay, and now we will rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. The lyrics will be on the slides and in your gray hymnal. Because Andy is relatively new to this congregation, we thought it would be helpful to learn a little bit more about Andy. And so, Andy, how were you first introduced to Unitarian Universalism and learn about it?
By accident.
And what does that mean?
I went to school at a little tiny liberal arts school in Ripon, Wisconsin, Ripon College. And there was a fellowship there, so a lay-led group of Unitarians called the Prairie Lakes Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And a friend of a friend wanted to go check it out at the invitation of a professor who was a regular, but didn't want to go alone. So he knew that I also had a bike and could make it the couple miles over to get there. And so I was his go-to person to head over with him on a Sunday morning. And so I pedaled over with him, and it's been downhill since then.
Okay, what are some ways that you have been involved with Unitarian Universalism through the years?
Yeah, so I have had the privilege and difficulty of living lots of places around the country. So working on political campaigns and in advocacy campaigns has taken me all across the country, which makes it very difficult to settle into a congregation and put down roots and be helpful. But I did my best, and I joined congregations where I was staying for more than a couple months at a time. And so I was a member of the Meriden Unitarian Universalist Church, very active at Ann Arbor, UU, and have popped into a number of other congregations around the country. And I was the membership director at Fallen Unitarian Universalist Church, a very quirky little octagonal church in Lexington, Mass. That is well worth a visit if you're ever up that way. I've also attended many General Assemblies whenever I could duck away in the middle of the summer.
Okay, so what would you say about Unitarian Universalism that you really connect with?
I think at its root, it's for me, it's so much about caring for the community that you live in and learning from each other about how to live an ethical life, and learning from the people in your community, from the wisdom of throughout ages, and not being choosy about where that wisdom comes from. And I have worked very hard to structure my life where I could do meaningful work. And finding communities of people who were also thinking deeply about that question was just incredibly compelling, no matter where I was across the country.
Thank you, Andy.
Yeah.
All right, before coming to Florida, what activities have you been involved with that are related to protecting our natural world?
So as I mentioned, I've worked on advocacy campaigns across the country, and I got my start working for the National Wildlife Federation, doing a mentorship program in their Great Lakes Regional Office, which sounds very fun, but we were reviewing comment letters to the Army Corps of Engineers. I hear some knowing chuckles in the and I've worked to stop new oil and gas drilling in the public lands just outside of Glacier National Park out in Montana, so in the same watershed, but not in the park.
Yeah.
I worked to keep microplastics out of Long Island Sound.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I worked to pass one of the most powerful and impactful building decarbonization policies in the city of Boston right before I came down here to Florida.
Wow. Wow, impressive. So what are some of the activities that Audubon Western Everglades has and is involved with?
Yeah, so we do a variety of things. So we're a local chapter of Audubon, but we do scientific research and conservation efforts focusing on burrowing owls, mostly down on Marco Island. If you haven't seen a burrowing owl, they're very cute. Go see one. Gopher tortoises, less cute, very interesting though. And shorebirds, which are always beautiful and wonderful. So we do shorebird stewardship, gopher tortoise work, and burrowing owl research and banding. So that's one side of things, is the science and research and active conservation. Then we do education work, so we have lecture series for adults every season. We do birding walks where we can take folks out all around the county and help them identify what the heck they're looking at. And then we also do policy and advocacy to help educate our decision makers about how best to make decisions to protect this beautiful place that we all live in. So those are the big parts of what we do.
Is there anything nationally or locally that you would say you're most excited about that Audubon is doing?
Yeah, Audubon does a lot, especially at the national level, and then at the Audubon Florida and at the local level. I'd say one thing I'm very excited about here locally is our birding backpacks. And we put together these little backpacks with our logo on them that have a high quality pair of binoculars and a birding guide, like tips on how to use a binocular, tips on where you can go to find interesting birds, and a little identification card so you can know what you're looking at. And they're available at the library to check out for anyone who has a library card. I spent most of the day yesterday talking to folks at the Earth Day Festival hosted by the Conservancy, and I got to talk to so many young people. Say, hey, do you have a library card? And they're like, yes, I have a library. And do you see this backpack? The birding backpack. And I'm opening up the card and showing them, and their eyes just lit up. And so getting those out into the world and seeing those, every time I check online, they're all checked out. So if you want one, wait until summer, and maybe some will become available. But that's one thing I'm really excited about, is to being able to see a wild bird doing its thing and learn a little bit about it is just such a magical experience. And so we're just thrilled that more people will be having that experience for the first time.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. So what part of your job do you find the most meaningful?
I think mapping out, zooming out. So much of my job is putting together next year's budget, applying for a grant, sending thank you letters to our donors and supporters, keeping the organization running. But the thing that I find the most incredible is being able to zoom out and think about, all right, what do we want our community, our wildlife, and the policy space to look like in 5 years, in 10 years, in 50 years? What do we need to be doing now to make that happen? How do we start putting those pieces together, and what can Audubon be doing to help move those things along? So being able to do that long-term planning and understand how those little logistical pieces fit into this vision of a beautiful, ecologically sound community with lots of people checking out the birds along the way.
Wow, thank you, Andy. Thank you for all the work that you do in helping to make us more sustainable.
Thank you.
All right, please stay seated as we will be singing our centering hymn, number 352, Find a Stillness. And the lyrics will be on the screen and in the gray hymnal. In our community, we take time each week to share our joys and our sorrows because the experience of every person matters. We are a welcoming community where we find connection and a spiritual community where we find meaning. This is a time to remember those in our lives who are struggling, are sick, or who have lost their lives. It's also a time to remember those who are celebrating milestones, who have made an accomplishment or conquered a fear, and also a time to remember who or what we are thankful for. So if you have something to share, please raise your hand and I will bring the mic to you. Please state your name before sharing your joy or sorrow, and please speak briefly so that there's time for everyone to share who wishes. And I have a sorrow to share first. I am very sad to report the passing of Jim Tebarek this past week. Jim suffered from a serious stroke late last year and has been in decline. Our caring thoughts are with Sarah and her family.
My name is Joni Benz. My joy is that 1 billion people will be celebrating Earth Day tomorrow. That's 1 out of 8 people in the world. It's got to make a difference. We just need to coordinate better, and we'll do more.
Thank you.
I'm Eleanor Richardson, and this is the last Sunday Peter and I will get to enjoy your dear faces for the next 6 months. We leave Thursday for Rockland, Maine, where we will bring greetings to the UU congregation there.
Okay, Marge wants.
Well, my name's Marge Ostrom, and I have an utter joy to share with you. Last Sunday, after service, Ed and I went out to lunch at a nearby restaurant. And after the meal was over, we called for the check. And the waiter said, "Someone has paid for your lunch." And Ed asked, "The tip too?" And the waiter assured us that the tip had been paid as well. And we turned to see who our benefactor was. We were absolutely stunned. And the waiter said, "No, the individual has left." And this feeling came over us, this warm fuzzy. And I know some of you have done this pay forward, and some of you have received it. And we had received it many years ago, but this time, the feeling that stayed with us the rest of the day, that this random act of kindness by somebody. People, there are so many good people in this world, and we were lucky to receive that last Sunday.
Thank you.
My name's Mary Fletcher, and I think it's fitting that it's Earth Day that I remember my husband who died 3 years ago. We used to go to Corkscrew Swamp frequently, and we talked one April about wanting to be swallowtail kites when we died. And in January, actually in November, right after I got here, a swallowtail kite flew by my window on the 6th floor of my building. And then yesterday, another one flew by, and I just felt, oh God, yes, Bob is with me. So I thought it was a good thing to say on Earth Day that swallowtail kites carry spirit.
Wonderful memory. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cliff Wells. Some of you have asked regularly lately, because it occurred frequently, how Tricia's doing, because she wasn't with me. And I always said, well, she didn't sleep last night. She just couldn't make it this morning. And that was true, but the reason she couldn't sleep was she had a really bad bum knee, and she was in so much pain that she couldn't sleep. Therefore, she couldn't join me with you guys here at service. I'm happy to, my joy today is to announce that she had surgery Thursday, and we have every reason to believe that she's going to be fixed and we'll be able to get back to life.
Yay, thank you. Wonderful news.
Hi, my name's Linda Kubit, and I am one of the original Dome children, as you want to call us. I started here in 1988, and my joy is to be here with you today, that my journeys as a sailor have brought me to Naples for this week, and I'm here to be with all of you and enjoy this lovely Earth Day.
Wonderful to have you.
Hi, I'm Brandy. This is my 5-year-old Brielle, and she will be one of the billion celebrating Earth Day. She's been learning all about Earth Day at her school, the Village School, all week last week, and they're going to be celebrating at school tomorrow.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Morell, and the good news is I've been adopted by a Jewish mother who loves me. She's beautiful, and she has a gorgeous daughter that I met, and the gorgeous daughter is involved with training young children up to the age of 8 internationally, and she was telling me about movements that are going on in the Arab countries. There's one called Visions 2030, which they're trying to move away from indoctrinating kids to making them creative thinkers. So I thought that was good.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Schuler, and I'm here from Sacramento, California. I've been reading about physics of global warming, and it's quite depressing. So I really appreciate being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your joys and sorrows. May the joys and sorrows that were shared and the ones that remain unspoken be enfolded into the warmth of our community. Experience Connection by Peter Morales. And Peter Morales was the 8th Unitarian Universalist Association president. What does deep spirituality feel like? Spirituality is impossible to define and difficult to describe. For me, it feels like connection. Connection to myself. Connection to others that are around, and connection to the earth and all of creation. Connection to myself feels like deep peace, awareness, calmness, and authenticity. Connection to others feels like compassion, community, acceptance, and enduring love. Spirituality is not really an idea. It is an experience. When I experience connection, the dividing lines disappear. Inner conflict gives way to integrity. The line that separates my individuality from others fades. We become one. I find connections with my deepest self in times of solitary practice and reflection. I find connection with others in community, often in worship. All the great spiritual traditions teach this. Today, the connection with creation, with Earth and the cosmos, may be the most difficult. We live in artificial, controlled environments that separate us from the natural world. More than humans in any other time, we live separated from the natural world, the world from which we emerged and that sustains our lives. We so very much need to experience our world. We need to let go of controlling our world and allow ourselves to become one with it. We find ourselves when we lose ourselves. May we connect, really connect. When we do, it changes everything. We will start with a brief moment of silence before the music, an opportunity to think about David Morales' words. Beautiful. This is our home, but not just ours. We gather here to remember that this is our home, but not just ours. This land we live on, this water we drink, this air we breathe, these old mountains that hold us steady to our ground, these forests that give us their healing green, these flowers that give us their beauty and fragrance, these fields that give us our daily bread, these stars that show us our place, the wilderness and the tame backyards, all of it our home. We remember the ancestors who have lived on this land and who have shaped it, the Calusa, the Seminole, the settlers, the farmers, the hunters, and the explorers, the scientists, the teachers, the workers, the leaders. We inherit their choices. We honor the animals and creatures that have made their home in this land, the ones here now and the ones who used to be here. We envision the future generations who will live on this land and let their voices fill our hearts. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. My work is loving the world. My work is loving the world. Here the sunflowers, there the hummingbird, equal seekers of sweetness. Here the quickening yeast, there the blue plums. Here the clam deep in the speckled sand. Are my boots old? Is my coat torn? Am I no longer young and still not half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. The phoebe, the delphinium, the sheep in the pasture, which is mostly rejoicing, since all ingredients are here, which is gratitude to be given a mind and a heart and these body clothes, a mouth with which to give shouts of joy to the moth and the wren, to the sleepy dug-up clam, telling them all over and over how it is that we live forever.
Trust the seas, although they lie in darkness, staring beyond your watchful eye. Though they may not flower, flower, flower as you dreamed they would, when the planting's over, you must trust the seeds. Some soon bloom to fill your heart with wonder, some only after you are gone. that some may wither. All you can do is hope and pray. Some will rise up grander, grander, grander than you dreamed they could. There is room in planting if you trust the seeds.
So as was mentioned, I grew up in Metro Detroit. And Detroit is the motor city. It sprawls as if everyone wants to just keep on driving. It is not known for its parks or wildlife. An enormous percentage of the region has been given over to roads and parking lots. But in my little subdivision, we backed up to 4 precious little acres, completely surrounded by suburbs. And as soon as I was old enough to be let out of my parents' sight, I began spending a lot of time back there, exploring, looking under logs, and watching the squirrels and the birds building little forts. I could spend hours back there, poking around. As I grew older, I joined the Cub Scouts and then the Boy Scouts, and I was lucky enough to find myself in a troop that went tent camping 11 months out of the year. So about one, and in Michigan, no. And about one weekend a month, we would drive maybe an hour or two away and spend the weekend cooking over campfires and learning how to whittle. We got to learn the names of the tracks, the scat of wildlife in the area. As I got older, my scouting got more adventurous. I joined a co-ed venture crew and went backpacking and spelunking and kayaking. After I became an Eagle Scout and graduated, but before I went off to college, I joined a Michigan Tech University research trip up into the furthest, wildest parts of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We were miles away from any road and many miles from any human habitation. And we were mapping wolf pack boundaries, so their territories in these remote mountains. And are you familiar with a fractal? Where an image where you can zoom in or zoom out and the pattern repeats itself again and again, no matter how far you zoom in, how far you zoom back out. Well, the natural world for me had a fractal quality to its wonder. I could zoom way in those 4 little acres and just be immersed in wonder. And I could keep zooming out and finding more and more wonder in the natural world around me. So I've been growing to appreciate these 3 different levels of wildness. The small urban oases that'll help you forget where you are for a little while. Locally, think the Gordon River Greenway. And then at the next tier up, there's the protected parks and preserves that provide good quality habitat for wildlife. And think Collier Seminole State Park. And then the truly wild places where if you visit, you really feel like you're on the turf of some wild creatures. Think the remote parts of the Everglades National Park or Big Cypress. Now, how are we doing to ensure that these 3 levels of wilderness are around for the future? Well, our national and state parks are threatened by climate change, by plastic pollution. There was one time I was in the middle of Big Cypress, literally, like almost right in the middle, and I found a Mylar happy birthday balloon that had floated in from somewhere. I don't know. But despite those threats, they're mostly doing okay. Locally, many of the green spaces that people appreciated when they first moved here are being developed, being built up. Burrowing owl and gopher tortoise habitat down on Marco turned into new homes. Cypress stands along Immokalee Road, where I live, being built up. And it hurts many of us to see and to watch. But where does that actually leave the wildlife? According to a recent study, the population of North American birds has dropped nearly 30% since 1970. That's almost 3 billion birds gone. Proverbial canaries in the coal mine. Now, is this decline and loss inevitable? No. We can fight back. We can push back. Far-sighted individuals worked hard over 20 years ago to pass Conservation Collier. In the years since, it has protected over 4,700 acres and countless birds and other threatened wildlife. And of course, a lot more to do. There's a lot more left to protect. But protection of the natural world does not go unchallenged, even when passed with 82% of the vote. Recently, this past year, our local commissioners raided the funds for conservation. They took $53 million allocated for land acquisition and for perpetual maintenance out of those funds to backfill shortfalls that they had created elsewhere. Now, the bulk of that money came out of the perpetual maintenance fund to conserve these properties and keep them around for, well, perpetuity. It's going to need that money. Perpetuity is a really long time. Thankfully, when word got out about what they were doing, there was a massive outcry. Huge, record-setting testimony at these budget hearings, and the commissioners are backpedaling fast. We have decisions ahead for our community. Are we going to put back some or all of that money, restore these conservation trust funds? And that's not the only decision. How do we allow new people to come into our community without tearing down the green, beautiful places that made so many of us want to come here? Decisions ahead. And in all of these decisions, we can ask, how do we strengthen the strands of the interdependent web? I loved this imagery of an interdependent web of creation, but some of those threads of the web are becoming a little frayed. They need to be repaired, protected. So, visit parks, watch a bird, donate your land, donate your time, your money. Conservation, environmental protection is hard work, but restoration is so much harder. Let's strengthen, repair the strands of the interdependent. Let's protect the wildness.
It is the time, energy, imagination, compassion, and the financial support of members and friends of this congregation that fuel our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming and inclusive religious community. Your generous contributions support our mission to grow intellectually and spiritually. Your financial support enables us to build greater peace, justice, and love in our congregation and in the world. For those online, a contribution can be mailed to the address on the screen and also at our website at uunaples.org. We are truly grateful for all the gifts that have been received.
We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Water make the river, river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight turn the world around. What is of the river, beyond the mountain? Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life. Oh, so is life about you are. So is life.
Thank you. My favorite song. Okay, we have a few reminders of what's happening this week at UUCGN. We have an important forum today with the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Leslie Ricciardelli, and School Board Vice Chair Stephanie Lucarelli, who will join us for a conversation about Collier County Public Schools. This month's exhibit by artist Missy Cowan continues in the Menaker Gallery. Missy has inserted a few more paintings, so be sure to go back and check it out again, and they're beautiful. Fundraising for our Weekend Meals for Kids program continues. We almost have achieved our goal, so you can be the one to push us over the top. You'll find information in the weekly news blasts or on our website. Our next News to UU orientation will take place after the service next week. If you'd like to find out more about Unitarian Universalism and this congregation, this will be your opportunity. And so now let's rise in body or spirit and sing 1064 in the teal hymnal, but also on the screen, Blue Boat Home.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart and say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known, the wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with Jude's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat.
Thank you, that was beautiful. Committed to respond. Committed to respond to the call of a wounded world. May we share our loving hearts, hands, and minds, embracing the interconnected web of water, air, and earth. May we have the fire of sustaining hope, ever bright with love and justice, bringing forth new wisdom, strength, and courage to create a new world, not of wealth, but of well-being. May we dedicate ourselves to the ongoing care of the earth. May we respond today and always with courage and with love. And have a wonderful day. Thank you.